Hello, it's Miss Rachel with the Otago Prattville Public Library, and today I'm showing you all how to make leather earrings, faux leather earrings. This craft is for teens and adults ages 12 and up, and this video is on Facebook and YouTube at 6 on September 1st, but it'll be left up, so if you are just hearing about this now, that's totally okay. These kits are available the whole week of September 1st, as well as the week after while supplies last. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up my kit, and the only thing you'll really need besides this is maybe some glue and scissors. The scissors are pretty important, so definitely have scissors, maybe have glue. That part's up to you. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up my kit and gently pour out my pieces. You should have 4 rectangles of leather and 1 little jar, and inside of the jar, if you twist it to open, you should be able to find 2 jump rings or little hoops kind of, 2 earring hooks or hoops, and 1 thumbtack or clothespin. Not clothespin, sorry, 1 thumbtack. So I'm going to set my little container aside. You can use this for all sorts of other things, so hold on to it, use it, let it come in handy. The first thing we're going to want to do is kind of plan out our designs. So what I'm going to do is trace on the front of my leather the pattern that I want, and I'm actually going to make it a little bit unique. I want kind of a feathery pattern, but I'm going to give myself some room to work up here by putting a little semicircle before the feather part so that I have some leather to attach my jump ring to. So I'm drawing my feathery leafy shape onto my leather. And I think it might smudge, so what I'm actually going to try and do is use that to my advantage and smush it on that other light piece of leather and see if it kind of transfers the design for me so I don't have to try and get it exactly the same. Okay, that did not work. It did smudge a little bit on here, but it didn't actually transfer from one to the other. But that's okay. So we're going to cut this one out, and then we can use the template of this, or you can make a template with cardstock or paper, and you can outline from there. So I'm going to cut out my pattern. And you can choose to keep the scraps of fake leather if you want, or you can choose to toss them. It's up to you. But if you can think of something creative or fun to do with them, I would love to see what you come up with. Awesome. So there is one piece, and I'm going to go ahead and mirror that onto the other by this time tracing it onto the back of the other. And I'm doing both of these in the lighter, more neutral color because I think I want my brighter color, this purple here, to really pop and kind of show itself off on the other side of the earring. Another thing you can do, and I'll touch on this a little bit as we go further along as well, if you don't like the glued look, or you don't like, I'm probably going to opt for a loose look where my earrings are 2-sided, so you'll see the purple on one side and this beige on the other. But if you don't like them being somewhat separate, you could use a little bit of embroidery thread and a needle and create sort of a seam down the middle that connects each half. So there are definitely options to make this more fancy, to make it less fancy. You can just do like a simple teardrop shape if you want something a little bit easier. Awesome. So I've got my 2 pieces now, and I'm going to create, you know what? I think I'm going to keep it pretty simple. I'm going to do the same thing on the purple, the same shape on the purple, but I might have them face the other way. Let's see if I can pull that off. So I'm going to trace around, and this time I'm putting wrong sides together. And do the same for this other one. And some of you will have different, you all have different colors of leather. Some of you might even have patterns or like glittery things. It's kind of just a you get what you get thing, but this is just kind of a starting point for you to play around with this idea, see what you liked about doing it, what you didn't like, and you can absolutely find these sorts of materials and items at any craft store, even at like a general store, and you should be able to replicate it using your favorite colors, your favorite textures, those sorts of things. So it's definitely customizable, and we are just kind of winging it here today. Oh, those look cool. Those look sort of like angel wings even. So I'm cutting out all my pieces to get started, and then this is where you can really get creative. You can use your scissors to create a fringe on part of your leather. You can use your scissors to trim little parts off and make one smaller than the other, and you can kind of layer them. Like if I wanted them to be staggered like this, but with the purple a little smaller so you could see more of the beige, or vice versa. That would work really well for a one-sided design. So there's lots of options, lots of ways you can do it. Like I said, I'm gonna opt for a two-sided design so that when the earrings are facing one way, you see the beige, and when they're facing the other way, you see the teal. And I'm noticing, looking at this, that my outline is showing up a little bit more than I thought it would in the pen. So I would recommend for y'all's earrings that you trace on the wrong side, not on the leather side, so that if you want the leather to show, you can do that without having all your pen marks hanging out. Cool. So I've got them kind of put together how I think I'm gonna want them. And before I do any other fancy trimming with my scissors or anything, I want to go ahead and work on the actual structure of the earring. So I'm going to take my thumbtack, and I'm going to use my bag as a little surface to protect my table with, just to be safe. I'd rather poke through towards a bag and the table than try and poke through right towards my finger, you know? So I'm gonna use my thumbtack, my push pin, to go through. And it takes a considerable amount of elbow grease. I would recommend putting it in one side and then flipping it and doing the same thing on the other side, just to kind of open that hole up a little bit more. And you can even wiggle it around a little to help stretch out that opening. Being careful all along, because these thumbtacks are sharp. They're going through leather, and leather's basically skin, so if it can go through this pretend skin, which is, let's be honest, way tougher than our real skin, it can definitely go through your fingers. So we've got our little holes established on this one. I'm going to come back and punch these other ones in a second. And now we're going to use our jump ring. So there are a couple ways to open it. One, if you have jewelry pliers or needle nose, round nose pliers, those are really helpful here. You can absolutely use those to help you along. You can very carefully, or with an adult, use your scissors to pry it open a little bit. Put your scissors on the inside and gently, slowly try to open them just a little bit. And then my preferred method is to actually hold, you'll see the little seam where it attaches to itself. I like to hold the jump ring on each side of that and push one side up and push one side down, and that separates them out like this. And now I can thread my jump ring through the hole, and I'm just doing one side of the earring at a time here because it's kind of tricky to get the holes lined up just so, and finagle it so that you get this big old jump ring through such a itty bitty hole. So we've got half of our earring leather on, and we're going to do the other half. And just kind of, like I said, wiggle it around, try and match up the edge of the jump ring to the hole that you created with your thumbtack. And you can wiggle it and you can move it around with your fingers to help ease it on. This fabric is a little bit stretchy, so it will fight you a little bit, but once you get it on, it kind of pops back into its normal shape, so that's good. And then before we close this up, even though we have both of our leathers on, before we close this up, we're going to want to attach our earring hoop. So I'm going to grab the bottom part of the earring hoop and thread that on to our jump ring. And I'm going to use the same technique to close it that I did to open it. I'm just going to push the sides towards each other this time. And here we have one earring. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to poke my hole. I'm going to open my jump ring and thread the leather onto it. And then I'm going to attach the earring part. And then once all of that is done, we can get back into kind of decorating and embellishing. I think I'm going to add some like fringy effect. Trying to find my hole on my purple part here. Like I said, the fabric for this faux leather is kind of stretchy, so it likes to kind of pretend like it's filling the hole back in right after you punch it. But if you stretch and wiggle with the thumbtack in the hole for a little bit, that kind of helps to create a more permanent opening that you will have probably an easier time working with. So don't tug too hard, because especially if you have a shape like this, because any weaknesses in the shape could cause a tear, but just enough to kind of stretch it out a little bit. Okay, and we're gonna do our beige. Now, if you wanted, my earrings are two-sided, so each earring has one beige side and one pink side. If you want, you could go a little asymmetrical with it, and you could do one fully pink purple. I'm not quite sure what to call this color, but you can do one that's completely that pinkish color, and you can do one that's completely the teal color, or whatever colors you're given. Or you can mix and match like me, or you can have them all facing the same direction and layer them. Like I said at the beginning, there's lots of things you can do. Okay, so I've got both earrings assembled, and if you were to do the embroidery, like I said, with some embroidery thread, I would do that before I do any excess cutting. So I would use my pen or a pencil to make markings on where you want the embroidery thread to go to connect the two pieces. And once you have those markings, you can use that as a guide. I'm gonna leave mine loose today like this, kind of let them dangle and be as they are. But I will add some fringe. And I just wanna add fringe, I think, to this thicker side. So I'm going to hold the pieces together and just do little quick curved cuts to that line that I drew. And you don't have to draw a line, you can eyeball it. You can cut less, you could do very small incisions along the way to make it less fringy. I'm going to, I think I love how this looks, but I want my fringe to be even fringier, so I'm gonna cut them probably in half and make them even more skinny and kind of separate it out. Actually, no, I think I like it like this, especially when I look in the camera view. I like it like this. So I'm gonna leave those be and do the same thing on the other side because I am a sucker for symmetry. So, do a little snip. And do be careful when you're working with this sort of fabric and sharp scissors, because the sort of slippery nature of the fabric means it can be pretty easy to cut or snip yourself if you're not careful. So I'm going nice and slow so that I don't have any injuries to worry about. And there we go. We have a beautiful, fun, kind of eclectic pair of faux leather earrings. I really enjoy how these turned out. I think it was fun. It was fun to experiment with. I hope you guys had fun as well. And if you have any questions or need any help, you can shoot me an email or message us on Facebook. Or if you have any ideas for other programs you'd like to see us do for teens and adults, I'm open to that as well. Thank you guys so much. Have a lovely day.